Why do we travel? To broaden our minds? To get away from ourselves and other people? Or probably to find ourselves? Each journey is epic. Epic in scale, physicality, significance, or scenery, sometimes all at once. Today, the spirit of great exploration is not dead, merely displaced. 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things that you did not do than by the ones you did. So throw off the bowlines, sail away from the safe harbor, catch the trade winds in your sails, explore, dream, discover.
Straddling the border of California and Nevada, Death Valley National Park is located east of the Sierra Nevada mountains. The park contains a diverse desert environment of salt flats, sand dunes, badlands, valleys, canyons, and mountains. Steady drought and record summer heat make this valley a land of extremes, yet each extreme has a striking contrast. Towering peaks are frosted with winter snow. Rare rainstorms bring vast fields of wildflowers. Lush oases harbor tiny fish and provide refuge for wildlife and humans. Despite its morbid name, a great diversity of life survives in Death Valley. Death Valley National Park is the largest national park in the lower 48 states of America. Approximately 91% of the park is designated as wilderness area. It is the hottest, driest, and lowest of the national parks in the United States. This place was home to Native American groups as early as 7000 BC. During the late 19th and 20th centuries, short-lived boomtowns sprang up in the area to mine gold and silver. The only long-term profitable ore to be mined was borax. The valley later became the subject of books, radio programs, television series, and movies. In the 1920s, tourism blossomed in the valley when resorts were built around stovepipe wells and Furnace Creek. Death Valley was declared a national monument in 1933 and later a national park in 1994. In 2013, Death Valley National Park was designated as a dark sky park by the International Dark Sky Association. The main road transecting Death Valley National Park from east to west is California Highway 190. On the east in Nevada, U.S. Route 95 parallels the park from north to south. Distant visitors can come to Death Valley either by landing at Las Vegas or Los Angeles airports. Driving distance from Las Vegas is about 2 hours, while from LA it's about 4 hours. A majority of the famous sites in Death Valley are accessible via paved roads, but to fully explore the park and see the less traveled paths, you would need a 4x4 vehicle with heavy-duty off-road tires. Death Valley is famous as the hottest place on Earth and driest place in North America. The world record highest air temperature of 57 degrees centigrade was recorded at Furnace Creek on July 10, 1913. Summer temperatures often top 49 degrees centigrade in the shade. Average rainfall is less than 5 centimeters. Occasional thunderstorms, especially in late summer, can cause flash flooding. In 1848, gold was discovered in California, and people from all over the United States packed their belongings and began to travel for what they hoped would be a new and better life. Since most of these pioneers began their exodus in 1849, they are generally referred to as 49ers. The San Joaquin Company started their journey to the Old Spanish Trail, a route that went around the south end of the Sierra Nevadas and was safe to travel in winter. As they started their journey from Salt Lake City, no one knew that this wagon train would become part of a story in human suffering in a place they named Death Valley. The Civilian Conservation Corps was established in 1933 taking unemployed men from all over the country and putting them to work on national lands. Death Valley was established as a national monument in February 1933 with 400 people from the Corps. Today, you can still see their efforts in campgrounds, roads, and even some buildings that are still standing. While conditions in Death Valley may seem harsh to humans, it is home to a great diversity of wildlife. Hard-learned, clever adaptations enable desert animals to thrive in this unlikely place. Death Valley is home to nearly 400 species of native wildlife, including butterflies, amphibians, reptiles, birds, mammals, and fish. Death Valley National Park contains a great diversity of plants. The salt pan is devoid of vegetation, and the rest of the valley floor and lower slopes have sparse cover, yet where water is available, an abundance of vegetation is usually present. Death Valley has more than 1,000 described plant species ranging from ancient bristlecone pines, cacti, and desert succulents to spring flowers. Many first-time visitors to Death Valley are surprised it is not covered with a sea of sand. Less than 1% of the desert is covered with dunes. Mesquite Flat Dunes are the best known and easiest to visit in the national park. Located near Stovepipe Wells, these can be accessed from Highway 190 or from the unpaved Sand Dunes Road. Visitors to Saratoga Springs may notice ibex dunes, but they are shielded from paved roads by rocky desert hills. An old talc mine at the base of the Saddle Peak Hills overlooks the dunes from the east. The Mojave fringe-toed lizard lives on these dunes. Eureka Dunes are accessible by most standard vehicles via Death Valley Road. However, you must travel 44 miles of graded dirt to the dunes. Gently rippling up from the edge of salt flats, Saline Valley Dunes cover a large area, yet go unnoticed by most visitors to this remote valley. The long, rough drive into Saline Valley limits casual visits. Crossing Panamint Valley on Highway 190, travelers may view Panamint Dunes as a distant, pale smudge to the north. A drive of 5 miles down the unmarked dirt road leading past Lake Hill and a 3-mile cross-country hike will provide a closer look at the dunes. Another awe-inspiring feature in Death Valley National Park is its salt flats. Badwater Basin covers nearly 200 square miles and is among the largest protected salt flats in the world. Salt flats are too harsh for most plants and animals to survive, yet are quite fragile. Delicate crystals are easily crushed, and the relatively thin upper crust of salt can break through to the mud layer below. The source of Badwater salts is Death Valley's drainage system of 9,000 square miles. Rain falling on distant peaks creates floods that rush ever lower. Along the way, minerals dissolve from rocks and join the flood. Here, at the lowest elevation, floods come to rest, forming temporary lakes. As the water evaporates, minerals concentrate until only the salt remains. The vast, surreal salt flats of Badwater Basin change constantly. Salt crystals expand, pushing the crust of salt into rough, chaotic forms. One such formation is visible at Devil's Golf Course. Newly formed crystals ooze between mud cracks, sketching strange patterns on the surface of the salt flat. Death Valley is probably no different to many other desert basins in the Mojave region of California and Nevada, in that cliffs bordering the valley are drained by numerous narrow ravines eroded by seasonal flash floods that in places form slot-like passages. Canyons in Death Valley have been explored much more than those in other locations. These canyons are not normally very deep, are V-shaped, rarely contain water for very long, and tend to be quite steep. But the ravines here do share features common to the sandstone canyons of Arizona and Utah, including dry falls, chokestones, and pretty rock formations. Mosaic Canyon is situated on the west side of Death Valley, close to Stovepipe Wells. Just west of the village, a stony 2.5-mile vehicle track heads toward the foothills of Tuckeye Mountain. There, a dry wash emerges from a deep ravine framed by weathered cliffs that rise quite sharply from the gently sloping valley floor. Natural Bridge Canyon can be reached by a spur road off Highway 178. A short walk up the stony stream bed leads to a large natural bridge rock formation. Titus Canyon has it all: rugged mountains, colorful rock formations, a ghost town, petroglyphs, wildlife, rare plants, and spectacular canyon narrows as a grand finale. Don't expect solitude on this trip. Titus Canyon is the most popular backcountry road in Death Valley National Park. The final 1.5 miles of the canyon is the most narrow. The walls squeeze down to less than 20 feet apart in some places. Mustard Canyon is in the middle of the Death Valley floor, just next to Harmony Borax Works, containing hills lined with yellowish mustard-colored dirt and rocks. This canyon has no plant life. 20 Mule Team Canyon is a canyon that can be experienced right from the driver's seat. This 2.8-mile one-way dirt road is well maintained and passable in any car or truck. The road leads into and across a picturesque Death Valley landscape of canyons and badlands. Darwin Falls Canyon contains an 80-foot-high waterfall in the national park, plus smaller falls and cascades, deep pools, and a permanent stream running through a narrow, boulder-filled gorge, all fed by springs high up in the mountains. An interesting location in Death Valley is the Devil's Cornfield. The plants here are not corn, they are an arrowweed, getting its name because Native Americans use its straight woody shoots in the construction of arrows. This plant spreads using horizontal, underground stems that give rise to new plants. Artist's Drive, one of the most popular areas of the Death Valley, rises up to the top of an alluvial fan fed by a deep canyon cut into the Black Mountains. Artist's Palette is an area on the face of the Black Mountains noted for a variety of rock colors. These colors are caused by the oxidation of different metals. Called the Artist's Drive Formation, the rock unit provides evidence for one of the area's most violent explosive volcanic periods. The Miocene Age formation is made up of cemented gravel, playa deposits, and volcanic debris perhaps 5,000 feet thick. Chemical weathering and hydrothermal alteration cause the oxidation and other chemical reactions that produce the variety of colors displayed in the Artist's Drive Formation, and nearby exposures of the Furnace Creek Formation. Zabriskie Point is part of the Armagosa Range located east of Badwater Basin and known for its erosional landscape. It is composed of sediments from Furnace Creek Lake, which dried up about 5 million years ago, long before Death Valley was formed. This formation is made up of over 5,000 feet of mudstone and siltstone. The borates were concentrated in these lake beds from hot spring waters and altered rhyolite from nearby volcanic fields. Dante's View provides a panoramic view of the southern Death Valley Basin. The Owl's Head Mountains can be seen 19 miles to the south. The Funeral Mountains are visible beyond Furnace Creek, 31 miles to the north. To the west, across Badwater Basin, the Panamint Range rises dramatically to Telescope Peak, and to the east is the Green Water Range. Although the 20 mule teams, prospectors with their horses and mules, and lost pioneers represent the extent of human history in Death Valley to most people, it actually started long before and continues today. Native people have been here since at least the end of the last ice age, and towns and mining camps have come and gone. Mining companies have moved from harvesting the mineral wealth to developing the valley for tourism. The human stories in this vast land are as numerous as the variations of color found in the hills and valleys. Whether it was the lure of mineral wealth or the resort industry that brought people here, every person who entered this valley experienced it in a different way. The Timbisha Shoshone Indians lived here for centuries before the first white man entered the valley. They hunted and followed seasonal migrations for harvesting of pine nuts and mesquite beans with their families. Walter Scott, also known as Death Valley Scotty, convinced everyone that he had built the castle with money from his rich secret mines in the area. This castle is hidden in the green oasis of Grapevine Canyon in far northern Death Valley. The Death Valley Ranch, or Scotty's Castle as it's more commonly known, is a window into the life and times of the Roaring Twenties and Depression in the 30s. The Furnace Creek Inn was built in 1927 by the Pacific Coast Borax Company of 20 Mule Team fame as a means to save their newly built Death Valley Railroad. The Borax Company realized travelers by train would need a place to stay, and wealthy visitors accustomed to comfort would be attracted to this luxury hotel. Harmony Borax Works was the central feature in the opening of Death Valley and the subsequent popularity of the Furnace Creek area. After borax was found near Furnace Creek Ranch in 1881, this plant began to process ore in late 1883. When in full operation, the Harmony Borax Works employed 40 men who produced 3 tons of borax daily. On December 31, 1974, the site was placed on the National Register of Historic Places. Nothing symbolizes Death Valley more than the famous 20 mule teams. These big teams pulled massive wagons hauling borax on a grueling 165-mile, 10-day trip across primitive roads. Although the teams only ran for 6 years from 1883 to 1889, they've made an enduring impression of the Old West. Today, the 20 mule teams are only a fond memory, but you may see 2 of the last remaining wagons here in Death Valley. The Keene Wonder Mine was one of the most successful gold mines in Death Valley in the early 1900s. It remains as one of the best examples of a historical gold mining operation in the national park. What is truly unique about this site is the well-preserved aerial tramway that still has the cables attached. Traveling 1,000 feet down in 1 mile, the tramway cars began carrying the valuable gold-containing ore from the mine to the mill in 1907. By 1912, almost $1 million in gold was hauled down these cables. Pete Augerberry, one of the original strike finders in this area, spent 40 years working his claim in the Eureka gold mine. Harrisburg was a tent city that grew to support a population of 300. Today, nothing remains of the town but Pete's home and his mine, which are located 2 miles down the dirt road to Augerberry Point. Leadfield was a historic mining town. It is located in Titus Canyon in the Grapevine Mountains. Ore was exploited in Titus Canyon as early as 1905, but the townsite of Leadfield at the head of the canyon dates to the years 1925 and 1926. The remains of the town include a few rusted metal sheds and 2 locked, abandoned mine shafts. Rhyolite began in early 1905 as one of several mining camps that sprang up after a prospecting discovery in the surrounding hills. During an ensuing gold rush, thousands of gold seekers, developers, miners, and service providers flocked to this area, and many settled in Rhyolite. Today you can find several remnants of Rhyolite's glory days. Some of the walls of the 3-story bank building are still standing as it's part of the old jail. The train depot is one of the few complete buildings left in the town, as is the Bottle House. Other interesting ghost towns and sites in the valley are Ballarat, Barker Ranch, Chloride City, Greenwater, Skidoo, and Panamint City. The Charcoal Kilns Complex in Wild Rose Canyon is among the most remarkable historical architectural features of Death Valley National Park. These 10 beehive-shaped masonry structures, about 25 feet high, are believed to be the best-known surviving examples of such kilns to be found in the western U.S. The Wild Rose charcoal kilns were completed in 1877 to provide a source of fuel suitable for use in 2 smelters adjacent to their group of lead-silver mines in the Argus Range west of Panamint Valley, about 25 miles distant from the kilns. Soon after being commissioned, they were shut down. This short life may help explain the remarkably good condition of these kilns more than 100 years after their construction. Nestled in a remote valley between the Cottonwood and Last Chance ranges, the racetrack is a place of stunning beauty and mystery. The racetrack is a dry lake bed, best known for its strange moving rocks. The road to Racetrack Valley is recommended for high-clearance vehicles with heavy-duty tires, as it can be rough. The racetrack is a dry lake bed about 3 miles long and 2 miles wide. At least 10,000 years ago, this region underwent a climatic change, resulting in cycles of hot, cold, and wet periods. As the climate changed, the lake evaporated and left behind beige-colored mud at least 1,000 feet thick. Throughout the years, many theories have been suggested to explain the mystery of these rock movements. A research project has suggested that a rare combination of rain and wind conditions enable the rocks to move. Visitors come to Death Valley to experience the stark and lonely vastness of the valley, the panorama of rugged canyons and mountains, the pleasures of the dry, moderate winter climate, the challenge of the hot, arid summer, the relief of the cooler mountains, and the reminders of frontier and Native American ways of life. Yet Death Valley National Park's greatest value is as an outdoor natural history museum. But all these things did not come to exist in one day. The valley has witnessed and has gone through billions of years of geological cycles. Questions can arise in one's mind. What events conspired to create Death Valley? Why is the landscape so varied and so extreme? Death Valley's rocks, structure, and landforms offer a wealth of information about what the area may have looked like in the past. Death Valley's landscape has been changing for millions of years. It is changing now, and will continue to change long after we have departed. Erosion slowly carves away at the ancient rock formations, reshaping the surface of the land. The basin continues to subside, and the mountains rise ever higher. It is interesting to imagine, but impossible to predict, the future of Death Valley. Please join us for the next episode of Explore, Dream, Discover, when we visit another site in North America.